Okay, we begin today the 9th letter. This letter, like many other letters, dealing with tzedakah, with charity. As the last one, spoke about giving before prayers in order to have an illumination in our prayers of the presence, the inwardness of God's light in the prayers. Today, we speak about an attitude and a very profound, deep attitude of what it means to earn a living, what it means to provide for others. How do we look at it? It'll be a 180-degree turnabout. Very different than how we would normatively look at it based on the human condition. It's the aphorism from the Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. They would say that inside my slice of bread is your share too. God is providing you through me, providing for you through me. Let's understand that. So the Alter Rebbe begins the letter by saying, my beloved ones, my brethren, my friends, who are unto me like my own soul. He says, I am coming to remind and awaken people who are in a slumber. They're asleep. What does it mean, asleep? Because they are engaged in vanities of vanities. What does it mean, vanities of vanities? A vanity is something that's inconsequential, not substantial. So going after material things, or after things, period, is vanities, because they don't have a true reality to them. We need to open up our eyes of being blinded. What are we blinded? Because we have a soul that's a part of God, and yet it's taking its directive from the body that has another agenda, seeking comfort, seeking protection, seeking self-directed things for it, right? That's what the body, and it blinds us as a result, because then striving for those things that are a vanity. What should we be striving for? Well, the divine source of all living, of all the living, which is the fountainhead of all life, which is God Almighty. When should you strive for that? Not just when you pray, which of course makes sense. Not just when you're studying Tanya, that you're striving to connect to God, or you're doing some kind of mitzvah, but from an entire day. And everything that you do, including your mundane affairs, should be attached to God. Now, what does that mean exactly? What does it mean it's attached to God? So simple meaning is, if you go to work, you have to have a proper work ethic that's based on Jewish law, halacha. That's a simple meaning. The Alter Rebbe goes further and says that we should not make a livelihood as the nations of the world or the human condition would dictate, which is doing it for one's own sake. Meaning, what is my sake? For me. Well, what's for me? Well, to feed my family. Because my family is an extension of me. It's a part of me. Which, we all do. Right? Go to work because we have responsibilities to a wife, a spouse, to children. Well, that's actually a good work ethic, that you're doing that in order that you can provide for your family. That's the way of the human condition. That's the ways of the nations of the world, and that's not the Jewish way. The Alter Rebbe says, Quoting from the verse, Mika Amcha Yisrael Goy Echad Ba'aretz, who was like you, the nation of the Jewish people, that you were one in the land, meaning that in the land, what do you mean in the land? Meaning in mundane material things like the land, you are unique. Who's like you? Meaning that you do not do it for the sake of taking care of what's yours and even what's your immediate responsibility. Because that would be bearing false witness, the Alter Rebbe says, meaning, when we close our eyes and cover our eyes to say the Shema, we think about the oneness of God, right? Shema Yisrael, here, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The oneness of God, that God is encompassing everything, encompassing even my mundane and material world, meaning even my livelihood. And with closed eyes, there's a oneness of God. Then when I open up my eye, I see a world before me, and then that world becomes a reality. And I'm out there making a living, and I'm out there seeing a self-sufficient entity that I need to engage in order that I can make ends meet, provide. That's selfish, the Alter Rebbe says. That's the ways of the world. That's selfish, because you're doing it for you, for your family. Your family is you. That's not for the sake of heaven. The Alter Rebbe says, rather, what is the right way? What is befitting approach? That our mundane affairs should be conducted not for our own benefit, not for our own sake, which is even striving to take care of our family. But what should it be for? I am making a livelihood so I could take care of others. I have, the Alter Rebbe says, my portion of God is a much bigger portion than just my family that was given to me. Because doing for my family is doing for myself, and that is selfish. I have a much bigger family, Jewish people. I need to supply to them in a gratuitous, kind way, and not just for myself. Just as God is being gratuitous to me and giving me of his kindness, and it endures throughout the day, so I then have to give back and animate, just as he animates and gives life every moment. So when I am earning a living, it's about me giving life to others, helping others, and being there for my fellow Jew, period. Then where's a wife and children fit in? So Alter Rebbe explains, because according to Jewish law, they take precedence. So in other words, as the old saying goes, charity begins at home. Not because it's my family, it's an extension of me. No, we need to feel that the extension of me is the Jewish people. And therefore I have a responsibility to all of the Jewish people. The difference is that by law, there is a din of precedence. What takes precedence? So my wife and children takes precedence according to Jewish law, because that's what God says, right? Actually, the Alter Rebbe says that if it comes to righteous people, they take even precedence over my children. Righteous people, meaning righteous of the generation who are my teachers, and especially if they're in the land of Israel. You can't find anyone, if there's greater than them outside of the land, there's something. But the point being that in Jewish law, there is actually even those who take precedence before my family. And even my commitment to my family isn't merely, only because it's an extension of me, because it's my family, and therefore it's of me, which is selfish then. Not being selfish is looking at someone who's not of me naturally in the human condition, which is your fellow Jew, and being and sensing a total responsibility to them. So I'm going to work to make money so I could give tzedakah. That's why I'm working. So I could help others. I have a family I have to help. Yeah, of course. They come first because you're responsible to them first. Not merely. This is the novelty. Of course you love them first, right? It's not suggesting that you, we will love them first, hopefully, in a healthy situation. But there's something that comes before love, and that's responsibility. No, all you need is love is not correct. All you need is responsibility. That is correct. Because if it's based on love, then it's all self-directed. What I love. But if it's based on responsibility, oh, well, I have responsibility to the community. I have the responsibility to the Jewish people. I have the responsibility to tzaddikim, to righteous people. Even before my family. That's the point over here. It's a different kind of commitment, a different kind of love, actually. I've given this example before, back in the day, I don't know if you remember ever going to a restaurant with your children. And your children act out. And you grind your teeth and you say, if you don't sit down, we're not coming back here to eat again. Right? So you're feeding your children. But who's it all about? It's about you. Your kids are making you look bad in the restaurant, so therefore you tell them, Shah, be quiet, be good, be nice. Is it really about them? No. It's really about you. Even though you're feeding them right now. It's really about you. And they're making you look bad, so therefore, you grind your teeth and you cut them, right? Give it to them. So it's not supposed to be about you. It's supposed to be about them. So even in that instance, sometimes when we do for them, it's not really about them. It's really about me. The Alter Rebbe is saying, no. Don't make it about you. Even your commitment to your family shouldn't be about you. It should be about them. As the famous stories you've heard many times before of the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Shalom Dov Ber, who was studying late at night with a study partner, a chavrusa, who happened to be also the teacher of his son. 6-year-old Yosef Yitzchak was lying there in a cot sleeping in the same room as they were studying. And the teacher says, look at your son. You could see the purity of thought in his dreams, in his thoughts right now as he lays there asleep. And his father was just taken with that would arouse in him a great love towards his son. And he wanted to give him a kiss on the forehead just to express his love towards him. And he didn't. Instead, he sat down then, I guess after their studies or whatever, and he wrote a Hasidic discourse. 5 years later, when he was 11 years old, he said to him, here, this is for you, this teachings. It's a Hasidic kiss, a Hasidische Kush, Yiddish. A Hasidic kiss. And he explained to him, this is what happened. I was overwhelmed by my feelings towards you. I wanted to express it with a kiss, but I gave it here in a Hasidic kiss, meaning it wasn't about my self-expression, of my desire, but I transformed it or elevated it into something that's about you. So I wrote a Hasidic discourse. No, at 6 years old, you weren't going to appreciate it, so I'm giving it to you now at 11 that you will appreciate it. So that's in expressing a love that is for the child and not for our own needs or desires to be fulfilled, which is self-directed, which is natural. And by the way, that doesn't mean mothers and fathers that you don't give a kiss to your child, because maybe you were Okay, that's the Rebbe Rashab, a holy man, but the point is that when it's about me, and even though it's an expression of love, I'm giving. That's the ways of the world. That's nations of the world. And even though today that actually would be laudable, unfortunately, that's not happening even in the world so much, or as much as it once upon a time. But that's not the Jewish way. Jewish way is we are not blinding ourselves and saying Shema, that God is everywhere, and then open up our eyes and we go to work and we engage in work in a way that I am amassing for me and my family so we could have the good life. No, I'm amassing for my family, extend it to your people. And I'm amassing the wealth for my people so they could have a good life. That's the Jewish way. In my piece of bread, in my slice of bread, your piece is also found there. Actually, Chassim would say, and yours comes before mine even a higher level, that I'd be able to, give you before I take for myself. Not for your kids. And this is not about asceticism at all. This is not about, depriving yourself. It's an attitude of what you're working for, what you're doing in a mundane affair. Going to work, for those who are still going to work. Even if you're working from your home, whatever. This is a very profound and deep attitude that is something out there that is empowering and giving us the strength that we can reach. Any questions? Any comments? Scotty, thank you for joining. Pamela, shalom. From Germany, Mirigas, I'm sure I got that wrong. Janet, Boker Tov, Priscilla. Yes, tonight will be Chodesh Tov. Shana, Bina, Boker Tov to you in Virginia. Ita, Rachel. Paul from San Antonio, Texas. Dina from Brooklyn, shalom. Mark from Santa Rosa, Boker Tov. Tarek, I'm not exactly clear what you're saying, what you're asking. Maybe give me the quote where it's from. Jean. Is this also part of the reason Judaism sees marriage as the root of a society? Well, yeah, marriage, because you're, fruitful, multiplied, you're creating a home. Your home, which is creating a home for God. And by extension, then you're creating that with beyond your four walls of a home. Your first responsibility is to your spouse and children, of course, but it goes far and above and beyond that. That's why we give 10% minimum, up to 20% of our income to charity, to tzedakah, because we have the responsibility. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Denise. Danielle from Brazil, Boker Tov. Andrew from New Jersey. Cindy from Florida, Boker Tov. Thank you, Rena. Thank you, Imar. Everybody's appreciating. Yeah, again, what's important to begin with is that we have an awareness of where we're at, what the human condition is, what is natural, and that we have more to strive for. And even though it's a very high-minded idea, there's what to strive towards. Vaccination, that's a good question. I don't know, and that's too loaded right now. And not the topic of discussion, Golda, but I hear your question. Good question. All right, folks, sharing is caring. And what does it mean to share? It means that it's not just about me gaining and learning and growing, but I have a responsibility to others. So when we speak about being charitable, it's not just about money. Not just about money. Even the truth is, our sages say, Ein ani el b'das, there's not a poor individual except in the mind. Because someone can have a lot of money and feel they're lacking. Another person can be literally with so little, but they don't feel they're lacking anything. So they're really rich, right? Happy with their lot. So what is true poorness? Is in the mind. In other words, we taught something now, and if you don't get it, that means the mind is poor because it didn't understand the concept, right? What does that mean? It means that if we really want to be charitable, is that we share teachings of Torah to those who are poorer than us, meaning they have less knowledge, less awareness. So the easiest way is just to share the class. A more challenging way is to give over the class. Actually, do both is the best. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from my home in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you, Natanya. Have a wonderful day.